All right, let's do another big warm round of applause for Gabe and the team putting on a great event today. Good job. Woo! I was saying I come to this venue a few times a year, and this is one of the best setups that I've ever seen. Again, my name is Adeo, and I run something called the Founder Institute. And we use gamification and game mechanics to affect a pretty important personal transformation. What is that personal transformation? Well, you might guess from the name Founder Institute, we make founders. So we take doctors, we take lawyers, we take artists, musicians, programmers, and we put them through a 3.5-month process. One could refer to it as sausage making with a lot of gamification, though I doubt you're going to hear about sausage gamification here today. The closest thing will be the Founder Institute. And at the end of that 3.5-month period, out come fairly successful entrepreneurs. But we have a pretty big vision. So we actually do this for 1,000 companies a year, worldwide. Right now we're operating in 26 different cities. Not all of them are in America. In fact, more than half of them are outside of America. And not all of them are in obvious places. So we have 2 chapters in the country of Colombia. We have 2 chapters in the country of Vietnam, Indonesia, Germany, Spain, Paris. So all around the world, we are using the same mechanisms to create these entrepreneurs. And our bigger vision really is to change the face of innovation and change how innovation is done. Because we believe, at the end of the day, that there's entrepreneurs and new opportunities that we're waiting to see in the world today. So for example, in the last 10 years, you would be lucky to see 1 or 2 companies like Twitter or Facebook emerge. We think that there could be hundreds all around the world. Now, I know a little bit about large-scale innovation and, if you will, gamification because I'm on the board of the X Prize. And for those of you who don't know what the X Prize is, we provide large prizes, 10 million, 25 million, etc., to solve big societal problems, such as how to sequence the human genome more efficiently to cure the wealth of genomic diseases, or how to get cost-efficient spaceflight for humanity. So at the X Prize, the gamification mechanism is very simple. Put up a $10 million prize, and that's a big enough number to attract media and flies, if you will, to the trap of the objective. Obviously, when you're affecting personal transformation of an individual to an entrepreneur, that's a little bit more complicated, so our mechanisms are a little bit more advanced, and I'll take you through what they are. And our goal is very simple, to take the 2% of humanity that we believe can be entrepreneurs, and in that 3.5-month period, use these techniques to turn them into entrepreneurs. So we start with good raw material, and I think that is probably one thing that you might hear me say that is different from a lot of other speakers today, that your inputs to whatever process you're using have to be excellent or your outputs won't be good. We use fear and penalties as a very effective tool. We also use classic rewards, and Gabe and I, by the way, have frequent debates about maybe we use fear too much, and hopefully I'll win him over a little bit today. We also use a bunch of social aspects to affect this personal transformation. We measure everything, and that might be another very important thing. I would argue that the internal dashboards of the company are far better than the external things that we show the users, if you will. And I think that's very important as well. And then being consistent in your enforcement, and then I'll talk a little bit about the results. So let's walk through these. In terms of the raw material and getting good inputs to your process, first and foremost, we realize, well, a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, and I do esteem how many want to be an entrepreneur. I bet a quarter of you would raise your hand. Sad to say it, not all of you are going to be entrepreneurs. And not only that, not many of you have the traits to be a successful entrepreneur. So the first and foremost thing that we do is on the inputs, we give someone a test. It lasts about 45 minutes. We test all the attributes you see up there, openness, conscientiousness, etc. And we've correlated the test results to a predictive score of how successful an entrepreneur you're going to be. So, just to get in, you have to take a test and essentially pass the test. But more than just the test, the other key thing about ensuring that we have good raw material is that we make people pay to participate in the program. And we actually, the money to us is not useful. To be honest, it doesn't really cover that much of our cost burden. In fact, one may argue it decreases the number of applicants that we have, but it does two very important things from a gamification standpoint, if you will. Number one, it ensures that the people coming in are serious and have a commitment to the process. It also proves that they have some resources to become an entrepreneur, right? If someone walks off the street, homeless, signs up, they're not going to have the resources. But more than the resources, that number one point, that commitment, the proving of the commitment, is very important for the raw material and for our whole process to work. Because the next item, which is the penalties, can only be effective if the raw material is committed to the process. So once someone comes in and they pay a little bit of money to join the program, they've made that commitment, they've passed the test, we then create this primordial soup of success by leveraging fear of kicking them out to get them to start acting like an entrepreneur, right? So most of you are not trained to think or act like an entrepreneur. So what we need to do is sort of breadcrumb the way for you to start thinking and acting like an entrepreneur. But you're not used to it, right? You go into like engineer mode, or you go into like VP of sales mode or lawyer mode. You're like, as a lawyer, I always do this. But you're not a lawyer anymore. You're an entrepreneur. So now that you're committed to the program, we say, look, you're not acting like an entrepreneur here. You're acting like a lawyer, doctor, whatever you were before. So if you don't change, right, we're going to kick you out. And the commitment coupled with the fear works very well. But of course, unfortunately, it's not a hollow fear. So only we kick out about 60% of all the enrolled people in the program because they're not affecting that personal transformation. And by the way, every time we remove someone from the program, you better believe that everyone else, is like, holy crow, that's not what I want to have happen to me. I'm going to get my A game on and start thinking and acting like an entrepreneur. But it's not all fear, thank God. As I said, we do have rewards as well. And, the obvious reward is launching your business and graduating from the program, right? So everyone comes in. We've tested them. We know they're a good entrepreneur. They see that, they might fail. But at the end of the day, they want to launch a dream company. So when they get to the end of the program, that's the big reward. They've launched the company of their dreams. We do some other rewarding as well, such as giving prizes throughout the program. For example, there's a few times in the program where we switch the teams and we'll offer them sometimes a scholarship to the best team, dinner with someone famous, private tours, and things of that nature. So some incentives to perform. But we also, on graduation, have given much larger prizes. So the single best company might get a large investment from a local venture capital firm or a local development organization. But ironically, the prizes are like sweetener in our particular model, whereas the fear is much more effective, right? The sweetener of the prizes sort of takes the sting of the fear away, but the fear is what really affects the greater personal transformation. Some other gamification techniques that we use everyone in the program is broken into little groups, right? These are called working groups. And the working groups work together to overcome the business building activities that we set before the founders. And that sort of consolidated social dynamic of 5 people really, oh man, I'm having a problem getting this done. All right, well, here's what I did. And that sort of sharing, that tighter social sharing of experiences is very effective. And so, we've tested all sorts of things here. So we've done working groups of 15 people, 10 people, 7 people, 3 people. For whatever reason, and this might be useful to you, when you break people into groups of 5, the social dynamic is hyper effective to completing complex tasks. Like, we find that the groups are not only highly functional, meaning that they meet regularly, share insights, etc., but they're highly productive in getting the goals done. In addition, another social element that we use is we get these founders together on a weekly basis with some of the top minds in the world to share insights about how to build their business and to give them feedback. And what we do is we gamify, if you will, the feedback mechanism where you get up, we give you a random amount of time from 1 to 5 minutes, so you got to be ready to pitch your business in a wide variety of formats, and then they're rated 1 to 5. And you can see here what it looks like. And let me tell you something. If you have some of the greatest minds of humanity, like last night, Elon Musk, Aaron Patzer, Bram Cohen, so Mint, Tesla, and BitTorrent, are all there. And you get a 1 when 1 is bad, you will never get a 1 again. That will be the last one you'll ever get. Because there is nothing more embarrassing than getting up, pitching your dream, and getting a 1 from famous people. And I promise you, once that happened once, it's the last time. So this is, well, it's not public humiliation per se. It's the idea that, here's a chance for you to prove yourself. The first time you fail, you never fail again. It's almost like riding a bike and scraping your arm. All of this is great, right? So we talked through some of the tactics, but it's very important to be transparent and show what's actually going on. So if someone's rated 1 to 5 and they don't know what that means or how that affects them, that's bad, right? So we're very transparent with all the data that we collect. So this is, for example, remember that working group unit I discussed? So when you're in a working group, you see your results and all the other people's results in that tight-knit family of 5. And if you're not doing well, it says to everyone, potential dropout. That's, whoa, hey, what? You can't imagine. People from Vietnam scour the internet for my email address and email me why does it say that I'm a potential dropout? And I'm like, well, here's the scores. You can pretty much figure it out for yourself. And then we have, obviously, a guide. But people take that very seriously. It's part of bringing a transparency to all this information, all these tools that we're using to the end user so that they see where they stand. But they not only see where they stand in their smaller unit of 5, they also see where they stand in the whole semester, which usually may have anywhere from 20, let's say, in Tel Aviv to 40 or 50 here in Silicon Valley. So each of the working groups are rated and ordered, and then each of the people in the working groups, I can see you see their names, so. And each of the people they're all great, by the way, ignore the scores. Each of the people in the working groups are also rated. So it's very transparent. Not only do you know where your group stands, you know where you stand, you know what your problems are. Again, transparency is key to the process. And to bring it, in case someone doesn't check the leaderboard or something like that, at the beginning of every session, we project this, which says, okay, what is the standing of the best working groups? Who are the founders in trouble? Who are the people not doing their work? And so there's another like, oh man, I don't want to be in the red side of that equation ever, right? I want to be on the green side. So it's just constant reinforcement and transparency of all the data and tools that you're using to the audience, because if they don't know how they're doing, and if it's not publicly known, again, all these tools and techniques are for naught. So, and then back to the final point, like again, it might, if it says potential dropout and you don't, and someone continues to go down, so you're giving them feedback and gamifying a process, and they're messing up. So you're trying to change the course of the outcome, right? You're saying, we want you to succeed, we want you to build a great business, but you keep making a mistake. At the end of the day, you need to get them out of the program, because clearly your system or the system or maybe something in their life is preventing them from achieving their dream, building their dream company. But of course, if you don't know what's going on, you don't know that that person's failing. So as I said earlier, one of the things that we do very well at the Founder Institute is our tools, our own internal tools, are pretty dang amazing. Like we get dashboards, we have an internal badging system, so you'll notice at the top there's like a little dude with a Z's. That means this person's asleep at the wheel, basically. We have another one with a skull, not very good. So, generally our badging system is like bad badges. There aren't, good badges are graduation. Bad badges are, time to drop out. But these internal tools allow us to make the right decisions with all that data we're collecting and enforce the policies of the game, if you will, that we've created. So some of the results, and I'm just winding up on time, so that's awesome. 91% of the graduates that come out of the program are alive and well, and that means, well, their companies, I should say, not the people. Yes, hopefully, well, so far 100%, I could be egged to death, so that may change the numbers there. But so 91% of the companies that have graduated from the program are alive and well, and 75% of them are operating on or ahead of their own plans, which is actually, given how early we are in the creation of a company, that is a pretty fantastic outcome. 42% of the companies that come out of the program, again, worldwide, from Vietnam to Berlin, have received $500,000 or more in funding, which is also a good testament to the results. And over 5,000 jobs worldwide have been created by these companies. It might even be a few orders of magnitude bigger than that, but that's sort of the minimum based on the statistics that we keep. And so, the conclusion of this talk is that, that a lot of you can use gamification for a wide variety of reasons, and we use it at the Founder Institute to effect a pretty dramatic personal transformation that not only changes one individual, but is changing the very societies where we operate, again, all around the world. So, thank you.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thanks. Okay, so we have some time for questions. If you want to come down and ask some questions. So I have one.
Shoot.
Unusually, your system, the Founder Institute system, is, as everybody immediately will have seen, skewed towards the negative.
Yes.
Right? Really skewed that way. Do you believe, in your heart, that that's the only or best way to do this? Or is that something that you think kind of just emerged as the first sort of assay?
No, yes. I know in my heart it's the right way.
Okay.
and I actually have empirical evidence as to this. So our very first semester of the Founder Institute, I was like Mr. Softy. I'm like, I love you, we're leave no founder behind. And we had really good outcomes, right? And so then, but we also got screwed a lot, if you will. So people are like, I love you too, Adeo, I love you too, but they did nothing, right? They never launched a company, they never did anything. So then we progressively got harder and harder and harder and harder, and the results got better and better and better and better. So this is the last semester I'm ever running. just because, I'm busy running the Founder Institute. And I've gone back to the future. I've gone back to leave no founder behind. I'm like, well, it worked once, let's try it again. Oh, the results are horrible. Last night I sat there and I'm like, oh my God. Founders were getting up, third or fourth session, embarrassingly bad, and they've been coddled and loved and stroked and, spoon-fed, handmade baby food from the farmer's market. And, it was just brutal. I'm like, God, and I'm not going to change my style, but I'm like, I'm looking at my work, my love effort is going to be like catastrophically large in order to get good results. So I think there's a cliff, though. If you go too negative, you fall, and then you alienate everyone. So it's somewhat like that stern school teacher you had in high school that, with just enough love and just enough pain, and they made it awesome. But I see some questions.
Yeah, Nicole.
Great. So follow on to Gabe's comment, not surprisingly, is that so the result, you're getting better results, you claim, through negative reinforcement. And I was wondering what sort of positive reinforcement that wouldn't scale would be, the one-on-one, patting on the back of the head, the spoon-feeding stuff. What did you try? And then the other thing is that in the negative side, did people game the system?
Do you mean
hey, I have perfect attendance, so I should
game our system. In fact, the reason we went more and more negative is people were gaming the system. And so, as I said, there's this cliff where you go too negative and then you just alienate people. But gaming of the system was how we became as rigid and structured as we are. So, for example, people be like, we have an incorporation deadline. You have plenty of time to hit it, right? We tell you what it is months in advance, like a freaking mentally inept person with in a wheelchair without transportation or phone could incorporate in the amount of time that we give them. And yet people are like, I couldn't do it and because of this, that, and the other. So far, now we're just like, hey, you're not incorporated at this date. Tough, you're out, right? So the gaming of the system forced us into actually being more strict, which you could argue is negative reinforcement. In terms of positive reinforcement, we've literally tried everything. One thing I didn't mention because of time.
Except positive badges?
We've done positive badging. I give prizes, which I talked about briefly. Let me give you the best example of we will give scholarships and sometimes cash prizes, and they don't affect the outcome. In fact, scholarships, when you give someone a free course fee or even some money to come to the Institute, has an inverted effect. The people work less, and it's almost like they don't care. And so the dropout rate of scholars is lower than of people who pay the course fee. Its dropout rate is higher, so the success rate is lower of scholarship founders than people who pay the course fee. So we've literally tried prizes, dinners. You see leaderboards, which is inherently positive. It's not as effective.
Let's take a question from over there. Thanks.
Hi, great presentation. If somebody wanted to learn more about this system, is it something that you guys share?
No.
No.
Top secret. Only here for Gabe because he asked, and he's a great friend. So you heard it once, and I'll probably never talk about it again.
Okay.
I kind of gave some secrets
One thing
away.
you can't fault Adeo for is honesty. Yeah.
That's for sure. So a question for you. What I gleaned out of this is that if my target audience is the 2% of the world that may have the ability to be an entrepreneur, then I should shame the hell out of them. And that could
You should what?
I could shame them in a way that your system designs that is very effective for those self-motivated people. What's the take-home for those of us that are after the 98%, those people that are part of a community? Is there any...
I'm very effective at shaming people, sadly. I also run something called The Funded, which basically was an anonymous review site for the venture capital industry, and that quickly changed their bad behavior once it was published that they were screwing people. They stopped screwing people very quickly. But in terms of the other 98%, I think we have a very unique system where we're trying to affect personal transformation. So getting that buy-in, right, of people who want the personal transformation, so they're committed to the process, and then using tactics, a little bit rewards, a little bit more fear, can do that. I'm not sure that it would apply to the 98%. I mean, there are other tactics that you might want to use, but I will say this, if you do want to get a certain amount of pretty big change in a short period of time, that commitment coupled with reward and fear tactics, without the commitment, you're not going to get the results you want.
So I think that's super, super interesting. We're out of time, unfortunately, for that question. Thanks, Adeo. Thank you so much. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.